So today I do not have a topic to talk about. So I am basically going to just say what's on my mind, ramble some. You might get bored, but quite frankly, I don't care. These things are more therapeutic for me than anything else. Basically, I'm way early into my YouTube career, so there's no way it could be expected of me to like produce high quality videos almost immediately. Although some people do jump right off the bat with high quality videos, but other people have to learn the skills, because they don't have previous skills in hold on a second. Previous skills in video design, video production, things like that. My thumbnails have gotten a lot simpler recently, mainly because I don't have access to Microsoft 365 to make a PowerPoint for the thumbnail, and that's why I have this. I also can't use video cameras. I'm a woman on the internet, so some creep might stalk me if I show my face so much. Although that's pretty kind of flattering to say that would automatically happen. I'm not even that famous yet, but still. So I don't have video cameras. I don't have the skills to produce a high quality video anyways. I don't have the ability to write a proper YouTube script yet, and I wouldn't know how to perform one if I did. My past videos have had YouTube scripts, and they basically, when I read them, they sound like I'm reading them. It's very like give a presentation in front of your class type thing. And there's just many other things. Like, I have done video clips on this channel before, but I guess I haven't done that in a while, because mainly I'm afraid that if I do use it, I might just fuck up and, like, accidentally delete an entire video. Although, I guess I should do that in the future. But also, even if I were to do a video, I wouldn't know what to do about it. Like politics, what is there to talk about politics? I guess I can sit here and chill about Trump, all day long, and what Trump is doing and how bad he is and blah de blah blah blah. I would say too, though, hold on. Let me look something up right quick before I make this claim, because I want to know that I'm 100% correct on this. Alright. Trump do well among black men in 2024. Let me see. Black shifted. Here it is. That's Trump. Okay, so I've pulled up an Al Jazeera article that says U.S. election 2024 results, how black voters shifted towards Trump. The Republican candidate almost doubles his support among black voters compared with 2020, exit polls suggest. So, okay, so I am probably right about this when I say that Trump, for everything that the left hates him for, is doing well among black voters, and I heard specifically among black men. And it's simply because black people don't really care about the racism angle as much as Democrats think they do. Or, at least if they do, it's secondary to other things like, economics, immigration, things of that nature, foreign policy, whatnot. They're not so enamored, they're not so afraid with racism that that alone would just get the Democrats automatically ticketed to win. You actually have to work to gain the votes of your black constituency, and that's a good thing. I grew up in Atlanta. I grew up in a city, it's recently a city now, outside of Atlanta. It's called Mableton, Georgia. And here I have the stats pulled up from Mableton, Georgia. So 2023 population 42,403. Democrats for the senators. But here's the kicker. So the poverty rate is 8.17. U.S. household median income is $84,662. The median property value is super high at over $300,000. And about half the population is employed. And I guess that'd be basically most of the adult population. And here's the kicker with that. Let me see here. Yeah, here it is. Here's the kicker. In my hometown, now a city anyways, 42.9% are black. Then next, 29.7% are white. And then you got the others. You got the Native Americans, the Asians, the mixed races, and then you got the Hispanics and the Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders that make up the rest of the population. So what I'm getting at here is that I grew up in a wealthy, well-off, suburban neighborhood that was almost a perfect mix of all the races, if not somewhat dominated by black people. And it has a low crime rate too, by the way, obviously due to the other stuff. So black people are doing incredibly well in some parts of America, despite what you may hear. The thing is that if you look it up, and I've looked it up recently, Georgia has actually, as a state, the same state that was burnt to the ground during Sherman's March, is actually the state that is ranked number one, according to Axios, anyways, that's AXIOS, for those of you who are curious, rated number one in reducing racism, racial discrimination, racial poverty, etc. Number one state. And I'm living proof of that. I lived there I've lived there for all my life, until very recently, and my parents lived there for 29 years. So almost 30 years this place has existed. And it's probably existed even farther. I wouldn't surprise if this town started to become multiracial and rich somewhere in the 80s, where racism was still relatively high in America in comparison to today. Black people are doing incredibly well. They're doing incredibly well, specifically in the more metro parts of Georgia, and other places too in Georgia, even though those places would have more racism in them. I've heard stories of kids at school still trying to segregate between black and white people. But overall, in Georgia, is probably one of the best, if not the best state to be black, is Georgia. I'm making that claim with some confidence, though, because on some of the list, there were northern states on there that got pretty low rankings in terms of the racial stuff. So I say this because the racial demographics, the racial lines, things like that, and it's not to say that I never noticed race in the Atlanta metropolitan area. I still do. And if Mableton becomes like 75% black, um, uh, I, I don't know. There are black majority places that are wealthy. So maybe it would continue to be wealthy. I don't know. But the the South, certain parts anyways, have been taken over by black people. That's the thing. The old stereotypes about the South being like uber racist while the rest of the country is like uber progressive is just not true. It's not true. And I've known that because I've lived there, and the stats back me up on this one. So, when I lived in Mableton, before we became a city, there was an issue with making Mableton officially a city because there would be like more welfare or something like that. And during that time, you know, there would be more support. Like Upper Mableton is multiracial. Upper Mableton is multiracial. So is South Mableton. Upper Mableton is richer than South Mableton. So when Mableton, my former hometown, was made into a city after almost 30 years of living there, or at least my parents, there was a big hullabaloo due to the fact that the rich people of Mableton, of North Mableton, all mixed race, whites, blacks, all types of races, were together and basically not wanting to support South Mableton that was poor. So North Mableton, the point is that there are different divides in the parts of the South that I lived in that had absolutely nothing to do with race. They were basically between rich and poor. And if you were to look at the map, Joe Biden won slightly, ever so slightly, Georgia in the 2020 election. And maybe it was due to COVID, I don't know. But Trump won by a larger margin, actually, in the 2024 election. And one of the reasons for that, basically, if you look at the counties that shifted to Donald Trump, of course, the red counties became more red in 2024. But there were also the blue counties that shifted towards Trump, or shifted towards Biden in 2020, shifted back to Trump in 2024. Those counties were Washington County, named after George Washington, and Jefferson County, probably named after Thomas Jefferson. Both notorious slaveholders, right? But they went for Trump. And both of these counties are majority black. They're also mixed race, just like Mableton, just like the broader metro Atlanta area is, right? But the reasons that they were arguing over was rural versus suburban and urban. Nothing about race. I mean, I guess white people, certain white people in that state would vote, in that place would vote because of race. And like I said before in an earlier video, it's not like Atlanta or Mableton itself has zero racists. There's probably still racists. Obviously, they have to live in a hole just to survive because, you know, black people dominate everywhere. But in the end, more important non-racial issues like rich versus poor, urban versus rural, became more important to the black voters in the region of Georgia where I grew up, versus anything else. And Trump campaigned hard in Georgia, and specifically in the rural areas, and that got them to vote for him because he promised to make their lives better. Has he delivered on that promise? I don't think so. But who knows? But he promised the rural voters to get better life, and they voted him in. So here's the thing. The Democrats have to understand that in certain places, and it's probably been like this for a while now, race doesn't really matter. It's not a concern to the vast majority of black people that live in the areas where I live, because they dominate. Black people dominate those places. In terms of numerical, and I wouldn't say wealth, though, because the white residents are still somewhat richer than black residents, but the black residents are basically very rich. So, and there was like pretty much almost exclusively rich black neighborhoods. So, so the people, Democrats need to take advantage of these things, and they need to learn that they need a campaign to impress these people, and they can't rely on like racial identity politics stuff. They have to appeal to things that black voters and all voters basically in these regions would care about: economics, immigration, foreign policy, urban versus rural divides, things of that nature are what people care about. There was also the thing about the Democrats not doing anything about Gaza, which probably lost them the Muslim vote in, Michigan, I guess? I don't know if that's true, but that might also be doing things. So, yeah. So, basically, the powers that be have been using race to try to get into power. And I'm saying that over time, America is going to become multiracial. White people, at least in certain regions of America, are still going to have more power than black people. But in other regions of the United States, like the South, so Georgia was the first. The second was Mississippi in terms of racial improvement, and the fourth is Alabama. And the third one was another state. I think it was Connecticut or something. So, in the top 5 of the most improved states of terms of race are southern states. I guess that's not like a whole country ranking, but it is pretty powerful notion that the South, once a place of torture, slavery, forced breeding hellhole for black people for, oh my god, hundreds of years, basically, and sometime afterwards, I guess, with, the KKK and segregation and stuff like that, has been through the concerted effort of various activists of all races under the umbrella of like America and Enlightenment values, have completely transformed the South, or at least the large metropolitan areas where most people live, into what are, in reality, multiracial ethnic bastions. The post-racial world exists in America. It does exist in America. The post-racial world. The post-racial world where race doesn't matter, and what really matters is like wealth or urban and rural, or I don't know, religion, atheism, literally anything else would be more important than race. Race is just, it doesn't matter. Probably like the vast majority of people, even the vast majority of whites, won't have like bad stereotypes towards black people. At least outside the city of Atlanta. I think there's probably still bad neighborhoods in Atlanta, maybe. I never lived there, so I don't know. But overall, though, for, like, Atlanta, or at least the good neighborhoods, and, like, the surrounding suburbs, small cities, in the metropolitan area, the place is a liberal, wet dream of racial diversity and equality. Full stop. Full stop. There's no disputing that. If you were to live there, you would know that. And so, like, the Democrats have to campaign to the people of this region, including the black people, because they kind of make up a majority, at least in the metropolitan areas. They have to appeal to them based off of the issues that are just normal rank and file issues, that they care about. Race doesn't matter to them, because through the concerted effort of people of all races for like centuries have finally overturned the racist paradigm. And I'm serious. The racist paradigm is basically pretty much non-existent in certain places in the South. Growing up in the South, I thought to myself that, racism in America didn't really exist except for a few yokels that live in like shacks somewhere. That's true in Georgia, right? But not really for the rest of the country, where racism is still alive. Well, like Utah. I recently went to the workforce rehabilitation program, and I talked to my mock interview coach there. Very successful man, worked in business for decades, and is now teaching people how to interview for jobs and stuff like that. He basically said that he lived in Georgia right around the time I was born, maybe a bit afterwards, for like 2 years as part of an LDS mission. And he basically agreed with me that there's essentially no racism to talk about in that part of Georgia. But according to him, in Utah, there still is. And I kind of agree with him on that. But I also find that in Ogden, specifically, I found more radical liberals than I do in Georgia. And specifically because I think that because black people have done so well in the South, that they're more supportive of the status quo than what liberals would like to believe. They would like to believe that black people want to overturn the system just like they do. No, they don't. In fact, they probably are totally against it, right? Because they're now living high on the hog in a prosperous nation. The most powerful nation on planet Earth. They have a good spot here. They don't want to lose that spot to some sort of experimental crack at a communist utopia somewhere. They don't want to risk that. So it makes sense that they're probably less liberal over in Atlanta than in Ogden, basically. So yeah, that's the thing. It could be very shocking to think like this. Like, people think like, oh, like, the stereotypes aren't true. That's what I'm saying. The ideas that we've had about where race lines are, or what people on the ground actually care about as a collective stereotypical zeitgeist in our heads, are just not true. They are, at the very least, like hundreds of years out of date. And the Democrats moving forward, and every political party, quite frankly, needs to recognize that. I guess that's all. Thanks for watching.